So I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic, like I said, and it's. Thank you. Yeah, fucking rock Pavi. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be an alcoholic first and foremost. It didn't start out that way. I didn't want to be here, like my buddy mentor has said plenty of times. I didn't want to be a part of this zombie cult, but I knew that this was my last hope. I knew that if this didn't work, I didn't have a chance. That's how powerful alcohol was for me. And I tried so many times to stop on my own, like the book says, and it never worked. So what happened, what it was like, and what it's like now. I grew up like any normal kid grew up. I had loving parents, mom and dad, and brothers and sisters. And I wasn't the only one who was an alcoholic when the dust settled, but I was probably the worst. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a normie, but my dad was the extreme type like me, and same with him, it progressed as it did with me. I didn't realize I was ever going to be an alcoholic like him. I always swore to myself that I would never let it progress to strong spirits like he enjoyed towards his end. But I drank beer, avid beer drinker, start out of the gate, and somewhere in my 30s, after I got married, I realized that it took too long with the beer, so I switched it up a notch and jumped into the spirits, and that did work well, and it escalated me to the point that I surrendered. Growing up, I started first drinking when I was 14, prior to going into high school, and it was just on rare occasions, and into high school it was almost every weekend, and I remembered doing a lot of drugs and drinking. Drugs are a part of my story, and they're a good part of my story because I found myself in trouble with drugs, all of them, and I realized that drugs would be the end of me, and I couldn't handle the drugs. So early on, I guess swore to myself to stick with alcohol, that it was a more manageable, remedy to my problems. Not knowing that I had any problems, but I sure created a lot of problems with that choice. So as time went on, that drink was required more and more. It became, in between weekends, and then, when I started working full time, it became an everyday necessity. But it was still the beer, and I still managed to make the beer work to solve that, that void, and it did for a long time. Like I said, up until my early 30s, until I started switching to the booze. But I never thought that I had a problem with the booze. It always seemed mild in the beginning. Like I've heard the saying was that it started out fun, and then it's fun with a few problems, and then towards the end, no matter what I did, it was just problems. Um, but I remember drinking, and it was always to the point where I didn't want anybody to know how much I was drinking, or when and or if I was drinking. So it was always in secret because I knew that it would be hard for anyone to accept the way I drank if they knew the way I drank. And so it was always in secret. It's like on the way home from work, I'd stop at the liquor store, buy a couple of tall boys and drink them up, before I got to the house, in the car. And when I came home, then I'd drink what was at home, and then I'd make a trip to the store so I could drink a little bit more. My wife didn't know, or others didn't know. And I would just, play this chase the mouse, cat and mouse game, with my alcohol. And it never dawned on me that I was, operating this, secret drinking, like outside of the norm of, reality, or, society. And it was like as if, as long as I was getting away with it, it was fair game. But when I got married, it was more of a hide and go seek type of operation. I never wanted my wife to know how much I was drinking. She knew I drank, it's just never how much. So it never dawned on me even to like tell her how much I drank, or even when she would ask me if I was drinking, I would deny it. And so looking back, hindsight is always 20/20, but it's never 20/20 for an alcoholic in full mode, and it wasn't for me either. So I would go to work, in the last 10 years of my drinking, sometimes not knowing how I got there, like not recalling, the driving to work, only, hoping and praying that I'd get there in one piece. And then when I finally got there, it was like a safety. So it never dawned. It at one point, like I'd stopped drinking for Lent for 40 days, and that was the longest I'd ever stopped drinking. And after that, up until I went into treatment, I'd only stopped. The longest I'd stopped was 3 days. So when I did finally start drinking the whiskey or the bourbon or whatever I could get my hands on, it was never straight, it was always mixed. So I'd stop at McDonald's or somewhere and buy one of those big sodas and pour half out and pour in, the booze to the top. And I'd drink that before I got home for years, managing never to get a DUI. I'd park around the house and make that short trip home with my, remaining booze. But I remember parking up on the top of the hill by the house one night and had the key in the ignition. The cop saw me down in, a couple of tall boys, and made me dump them out and leave the car and walk home. And so I walked down the hill and told my wife, that I'd made some excuse about what I was doing up there, and somehow she believed me, and she picked up the car and we went home. So somehow during the escalation of my drinking, my wife decided that it's either me or the booze, me and the kids. After having 3 kids, I was drinking a lot. It was about 2/5 a night, and I'd stumble in, from the outside and fall down and bloody my face up in the house or outside. And one morning I woke up and looked in the mirror getting ready for work, and my face was all blood red. Didn't know what happened. Must have fell down and busted my nose in the middle of the night going to the restroom, and I washed it off and went to work. Well, my wife says, is that I got a drinking problem and I need help. And so I went along with it, and I went to the doctor, and she went along with me. And the doctor, gave me the survey, yes to the survey, and I, agreed to see some treatment centers. And she had called them and found me a bed, and I refused to go and kept drinking a couple more months until finally I'd agreed to go in, and I went in, and they admitted me. When one of the caseworkers went to admit me, he said I was shaking so hard he'd give me a glass of milk, and that I could make a milkshake.
Butter.
And at work when I was drinking, I hated to go out to lunch with the guys because they'd go and sit down, respectful places where you'd eat with a fork and knife. And I remember not being able to eat because everything would fall off the fork. So I'd only go if they were going somewhere where I could eat with my hands. And so as I was admitted there, I only admitted to treatment for the purpose of detoxing. And little did I know that as I detoxed was that I saw all the other alcoholics in there and realized that there was no way out of this. And so I was in there for, I agreed to stay in for the 30 days, and I did. And I knew once I got out that I would be dead meat if I didn't have something to fall back on. So what I did was I found a meeting close to home for every night of the week, and I went. And I needed those meetings every night of the week for 2 years in order just to calm this down. And it eventually calmed down, but it took a lot of help. I needed a lot of buddies. I needed a lot of support, and I eventually got it. I resisted sponsorship for a few years until I worked finally through the steps, and I found it hard to in the beginning to interact with people outside of the group. It was real tough until I worked through the steps. Once I worked through the steps with my last sponsor, it was easy to feel comfortable in my own skin, and only then did I find that that this was where I, where I needed to be, where that the the promises that the rewards of sobriety were really taking place. I got a group of friends, that I socialize with, that I keep in contact with today. I've got tools in my toolbox, that I know how to use. I've got meetings that I hit regularly that I call home, home groups. This is one of them. And, is that I know that this thing works now. I'm not afraid of being an alcoholic. What I am afraid of is falling off that the group and having my mind think for itself without being reminded that I'm an alcoholic. Today, I'm a father of 3. My kids respect me. My wife respects me. I'm I'm of service to everybody that depends on me. Is that I know how to get out of myself. I know what it takes to catch myself trying to lie to myself, telling me that I'm recovered, telling me that I've got control of this, when it really is telling me that it wants control of me. I know that alcohol is not my friend, and I know that I'm happier without the alcohol, because my mind wants to tell me that I'm recovered, but I'm constantly in recovery. Is that so? Today, I came in here never knowing what gratitude was. I only learned of gratitude in the program, and today gratitude makes me feel good. Gratitude makes me show others that I feel good, and by others seeing that I feel good, I think others feel good around me. So it helps me to be of service with the things that I'm grateful for. And so I think today I'm not the same person I came in the program, and I owe that all to gratitude, as simple as it is. I hit my knees in the morning, and I'm grateful to wake up. And today it's just the simple things, breathing, shelter, and food. So knowing that, and knowing how easily that could all get taken away if I slipped in this program, I keep coming back, but not because I have to. I'm coming back today because I want to. So that's all I got. And I guess the topic tonight is how is gratitude different today than when you first conceived the notion of gratitude?